What's going on, fellow A-Plusters? It is I, your Morphinominal host, as always, Adam Perez, certainly coming through once again with a brand new Don Brothers review, episode number 9, as I like to title it, Green Light, Red Light 1, 2, 3. A fantastic game that I personally played as a kid, as I'm sure many of you definitely have. And so for me, this episode not only brought excitement and adventure and great action and yada yada yada, but great nostalgia for me, and taking me back down memory lane just a little bit, and it kind of added a little bit of a weird like Squid Game factor to it also. If you guys have certainly checked out the Netflix season, you definitely know what I'm referring to in regards to Red Light, Green Light. So I really enjoyed how they incorporated it in majority of this episode, like even the action sequences. I thought the choreography and having the opportunity to kind of play around with it like that was really fun, and added a fantastic dynamic to this episode also. So kudos to Don Brothers. Honestly, each and every week continues to impress me, showcase something new. The writing continues to surprise me, gives me something else. If anything, this season alone has almost really pushed me to wanting to dive further into Jetman, honestly. Just seeing where this writer originally came from, I kind of want to go back and see what that particular season was all about, because it's certainly one that I've never visited, but I've always heard about. So his influence that I've seen so far in Don Brothers has really impressed me, and so I'm continuing to love this season so far, guys. But for me, I really enjoyed the humor aspect of this episode too, in the sense of getting the opportunity to see a different side of Don Momotaro in here, as we get to see Momo showing up at the cafe, just exhausted, disheveled, just definitely not his normal self, you know what I mean? And so something is certainly very wrong. So you come to quickly find out that for Momotaro here, because of his superpowers, because of his good fortune, according to Jin, there is every once in a while he certainly will just become absolutely helpless and certainly can't take care of himself. So just what the difference of him being sick really makes is huge. It was actually pretty shocking and hilarious to kind of watch it, certainly all at the same time. His exhaustion was just pure hilarity, and what made it funnier too was just the added layers on top of it, right? Because it wasn't just him, but even when he did henshin and he joined the fight, just getting into the fight when he probably shouldn't have, we're so used to just the big bombastic sort of festival and the party that certainly takes place, right? He's so boisterous when he enters, so the fact that we literally see this man taking the covers off of the futon that he's laying under, because he's been sleeping on this entrance, even the people that are carrying him look like they literally walked out of bed too. It just really worked for me, man. And so I absolutely love just seeing that other side of Don Momotaro, and really getting the opportunity to see that, look, this guy may have good fortune and it may be great at everything, but there is also a negative side to that, right? So you got to assume that good fortune also means he's been blessed with like really good health as well. So every once in a while when he does experience what it's like, yeah, he's completely useless to them. And so I thought they actually handled it really well, right? Jin does allow them to know that, look, if you do want to help Momo out here, you got to go ahead and have him eat 300, what did they call them? Kibidongos. 300 kibidongos, right? So they decide to go ahead, they give him Jin has the recipe ready to go, like homeboy's done this before, and so he gives it to them, and they wind up going back to the cafe, and just, by coincidence, Kaito certainly happens to have kibidongo on the cafe menu, certainly ready to go, right? So if anything, look, it continues to connect to me, if you ask me, that he's definitely the administrator that Jin was certainly talking about. I definitely know Kaito certainly knows more about what's going on. He probably knows all the people certainly involved, who's who. We saw him with the point system as well, right? So the Kibidongo is not just coincidental. I'm pretty sure he's probably had it on hand just in case a moment like this certainly were to happen, you know what I mean? And so maybe I'm wrong, but I'm kind of curious to know how you guys certainly took that as well. So we do get the opportunity to see them make the 300. Momo certainly eats it, but then realizes his energy, I think, lasts for like 2 minutes or something like that, and then he comes completely drained again, and they quickly come to find out that they made it incorrectly. Apparently Jin says you have to use a pestle and a mallet. So then they have to go back and make 300 more of these. And I think that's where Kaito certainly came in and really showed his worth here in this week's episode. So I really enjoyed Kaito's addition in here. He's still extremely quiet. There is an aspect to his like adventure. Like, what happened to you, bro, from Zenkaiger to this particular moment? Like, what did you stumble into, and like what has happened in your life to change your personality, right? Like, maybe this is all a front. Like, maybe this is you in a performance, and like come, you know, episode 15, you'll be like, hey, I'm Kaito from the Zenkaiger show, and you know, and you're happy and shit again. Like, I'm trying to figure out what's gonna happen here with you, but I'm so fascinated. And his costume, damn man, the Zenkaiger Black costume is just so slick, and I love his Zenkaiser costume also. I think it's gorgeous. So the fact that they could still use that costume, put another paint job on it, and it still blow me away, yeah man, I was super impressed. And get an opportunity to see Kaito activate his laser sword. It looks like it was like a flame sword, like a really tight flame that he adjusted to kind of come into like a little dagger, or you know, whatever you want to call it, as he wind up facing off against the Hitatsuki in this week's episode also. So again, you know, the idea of him transforming, you know, I felt like him and even Momo had a little bit of a connection, like some glances, like they knew some things on the inside that not everybody else certainly knew, or at least I kind of got those vibes. Whether they were working together or not, who certainly knows. But I think I'm pretty sure Kaito knows a lot more than what's certainly being told to us as a viewer. So, but I really enjoyed his participation here in this week's episode. It was pretty fantastic, if you ask me. Honorable mention in regards to the Hitatsuki this week, and the fact that it didn't have itself an actual physical form, that it actually seemed to be formed from the memories of an old man that we see in a hospital in this particular week's episode. They kind of refer to it, the idea of someone's greed detached from their body. And so that greed that's detached is sort of showcasing itself as a child, and this particular child is actually that older man as a kid. And when he's in the hospital, we get the opportunity to see one of his memories, and the idea that, look, he kind of lacked friends when he was younger. The idea that he was always the type to be so friendly and wanting to socialize, being that social butterfly, and people sort of running away from him, sort of thing, right? So maybe growing up very young, having that lack of friends has now grown him or pushed him to sort of this extreme desire, this extreme greed of his, if you will, maybe for more friends, more loved people to maybe be by his bedside. I mean, his bedside seemed kind of lonely, you know what I mean? So I am kind of curious if that was what was certainly creating it, for it to literally be a memory turning into, I don't want to say, I guess, a physical formation here through this Hitsutaki. I thought it was pretty interesting in regards to how they executed that here in this week's episode. And again, just getting the opportunity to see how the Hitatsuki also incorporated the games of, you know, playing the red light, green light. I think they also played tag, if I'm not mistaken, in here also, right? So really added a level to action that was pretty fun. Even get an opportunity to see like Momotaro in like a little bit of a chase scene, right? Like he's running away, he's trying to save some people, and he winds up putting on his sunglasses to, you know, access all these other doorways, which I find interesting that he can see the doorways, but technically the people that is running from him can't really see the doorways, right? So he's like just literally opening up random doors, and people are like, what? I'd be like, where the fuck, where do you want me to go, bro? Like, you just opened your hand, like, where am I going? Like, I don't see a door, what are you talking about? So I did find that pretty interesting. So, but regardless, outside of that though, I did find it pretty hilarious, whatever the case certainly may be. But I really love the action sequences that we wind up getting in here, seeing them playing tag, and also the idea of the red light, green light while facing off against the henchmen in this episode too. I thought was actually pretty creative. Like the idea of just technically cameraman wise, like zooming in on the enemy and then quickly, glancing over and then turning back and then glancing over, and then each time they be in like a completely different position. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was actually pretty fun, super creative, and just some of the formations that they came up with was actually pretty fantastic as well. But listen, the wow moment for this episode truly does come from the idea here that while they do have to make that batch of the second 300 Kibidongos, right, they quickly come to find out that they're missing one, and Kaito has to run back and get the missing Kibidongo to go ahead and save Momo because he's run out of energy again. And so in the middle of battle, right? So I love this sequence in here where we're going through the red light, green light, and as he loses his abilities again and just becomes exhausted, the idea of Oni Sister catching him and holding him in place so that the monster, doesn't catch them that particular time around, and actually winds up sort of saving his life. And this particular action of Oni supporting him and helping him is all Don Momotaro needs, and he winds up just standing up like homeboy's been re-energized and just raring to go. And the fact here that we get the opportunity to see Oni Sister properly kneeling down and bowing before Momo, just as Jin predicted. Talk about fulfilling a prophecy. And I love the way that's shot, because it's a big moment, because I can't remember if it did the zoom in or we get ourselves a closer shot of Oni Sister, and it's a slow motion of Don, I believe, putting his hand on her head in the symbol to me of, like, I don't want to say knighting her, but like blessing her, like, all right, we're on good terms now, you know what I mean? The fact that you have supported me, like you're really truly here for me, right? Like you're really there for me, and I thought that was absolutely fantastic. And so it really kind of comes full circle, and this is the true way that she was certainly supposed to do it the whole time, because she did it before last time, right? Didn't she like kneel to him and she's like just kicked her out of the way and stuff? Granted, he does throw her out of the way this time, but it's on a different level now. It's on a much different level now. So I thought that was a fantastic moment, and it blew me away just to go ahead and see that briefly, especially during just sort of an action moment. You know what I mean? I thought it was handled fantastically well. And then the coup de grace, ladies and gentlemen, right? Like, if this episode's gonna blow its load, it blowed its load with the Robotaro mode. I mean, this thing was ridiculous, guys. I mean, the avatar change into the Robotaro, talk about a fantastic power up. I mean, this was just a tease. Like, I really want to see so much more of what this power up and costume can do. It definitely felt very samurai heavy. There was a fantastic like moment where he kneels down with his saber, to his side, like he's putting it back inside, like he's sheathing it again, or whatever they call it. I can't remember the proper term of it. I'm sorry. And then all of a sudden we get the opportunity to see that jetpack on his back, and then all mayhem breaks loose, guys, and he just goes crazy and berserk on these people. I thought it was fantastic to watch. I mean, pardon my French, but holy shit, man. I mean, it was really impressive to watch, just seeing him, especially when you get the opportunity to see the Hitatsuki changing up the game of the red light, green light, right, where he's like literally moving also. And so, I mean, the fact that he's got that level of speed, I mean, we're talking like maybe not Goku Ultra Instinct speed, but it's fast. It's fast. Homeboy was fast enough to go ahead and destroy the Hitatsuki here this week's episode, in a really fantastic fashion, if you certainly ask me. But yeah, so the action was just off the charts in here, and we get the opportunity to see the memories, if you will, of this older gentleman as a kid going back into his body, and he's certainly a happy camper all over again. I also do want to bring up the Sarah brands in here, in regards to, what is it, Sonoza and Sonoi, shall we? Because listen, Sonoza, in my notes, I put Sonoza's laughing lesson. The idea of him learning emotions, certainly from the humans. He's fascinated by the idea of laughter and clearly crying, right? And I said, I don't know why I see Yodana with this group. Like, maybe before the Yodana specials, Yodana probably would have really fit extremely well with the Cerebrains, just character-wise, if you will. Maybe now, not so much, but she certainly did at some point in time. It just really reminds me of that. But I am fascinated, and I really love seeing him trying to learn, and really in the sense that because, and this is no offense to the actor himself, but he already has really sort of unique traits about him, you know what I mean? So the fact that he's able to use those traits along with his acting and his performance, it's a really creepy, just really creepy combination of him just coming up to people randomly laughing, and his sobbing noise that we wind up hearing too. I mean, God, it was cringy, man. It was like it was really terrible to the ears. But I kind of appreciate that creepy vibe that Sonoza is definitely giving off in here. But you know, the moment that really just, the moment that made me just really laugh out loud, also, and again, this is what I love, right? Like, I love the balance of humor and drama and great action. And this has everything that me as a Super Sentai fan certainly enjoy. And again, that's the one thing that I talked about when it comes to Zenkaiger. I enjoy humor, I do, but I also like a balance, and Zenkaiger was just so much fun. I mean, you know, in that sense that it was just all over the place, ADHD, a ton of humor. You know, sometimes it felt like it didn't know what it wanted to be, or maybe it knew exactly what it wanted to be, and it was just chaos at times. So yeah, two completely different seasons. I believe the director is probably the same, if I'm not mistaken, just a completely different writer, and it's showcasing fantastically well, man. I'm so glad that this sort of spin-off, or you know, continuation, has a different vibe and feel. And who knows, maybe by the time I finish watching this, maybe it might give me a bigger appreciation for Zenkaiger, and certainly something worth watching if the connections really start getting bigger and bigger, you know what I mean? I would be really interested to kind of see where the remainder of this season goes. But I've been loving what they've had so far, and Sonoza, along with the rest of the Cerebrains, have been some incredible villains that they've certainly introduced us to. But the moment that does make me laugh, again, in regards to the humor, the idea of Kiji brother literally trying to tickle this grown-ass man. Like, I literally laughed out loud at work while I was watching it. Like, I was watching it on my phone, and I just remember I'm in the break room on my lunch, and I'm watching this, and I just start busting out laughing. Like, the fact that Kiji brother thought the concept of, here, let me show you what real laughter is like. Look, and he like, really, you're gonna tickle another man? You don't even know this guy. Why? Like, why? I thought it was hilarious. Kiji Brothers continuing to grow on me, man. Like, there's just something fantastic about his awkwardness that really makes me laugh. But I really enjoy him. But listen, the other thing we certainly got to talk about in here is Sonoi. Again, I do find it interesting in the sense that Sonoi was acting strange the same time that Momotaro was acting strange, right? We talked about that last week when these two met each other. Personality-wise, they're just eerily similar in so many ways. It just feels like there's a much bigger connection and they're certainly not showcasing, and this feels like another connection. Like, just the fact that on this one particular day in which Momotaro was feeling the way that he does, Sonoi's acting odd as well, right? Seemingly kind of like making a connection. Like, homeboy's doing this weird like finger thing, like holding up some gang sign as he's like looking into the camera and stuff, and he's clearly making some connection or looking beyond into some realm that we certainly can't see at that, like, sight before sight. Isn't that like the Thundercats thing when he holds up the sword, you can kind of see into something like that? That's kind of what it felt like a little bit. Sight beyond sight, I believe is what he said. But anyway, this this moment here where we see him kind of projecting and looking through the eyes maybe of somebody else, we see like the drool and the slobber, or maybe it's like, I don't know what it is, that's what I assume that it was, or some sort of goop, as we get to see quick slashes and stuff and some creepy eyes. We just talked about this recently on A+ Morphinominal this past weekend when we did our magazine scans. Near the end of those magazine scans, we had scans for the upcoming episodes, I believe, and one of the characters in there had that similar sort of 6 eyes and was blue, also very similar to the eyes in this episode also. So I am wondering if this is a symbol or a sign, at least, that the character that we saw in the scans that's who it's certainly connecting to. So I am kind of curious as to who that is. It clearly is powerful enough to where Sonoi, seemingly maybe that connection was open a little bit too long, and this creature has now sort of come in, right? I mean, we saw the bus crash at the very end of this particular episode. People were in it to go into the tunnel and came out the other end, or at least I should say did not come out the other end, just the empty bus sort of thing, right? And then of course you see the slobber or the goop or whatever that I'm assuming follows that creature around as well. So it seemed to startle Sonoi, so I am kind of curious, did you mean to bring it out? Did it just happen to escape because you were careless, right? Like, did you just set this free sort of thing? And does this thing maybe have anything to do with Kaito? Like, is this not Kaito, with Momotaro, right? Like, is this a weird bad, like the evil or the bad luck version of Momotaro, right? The idea that he's always had this good fortune, but this one day is when he's completely helpless. Like, is that when his bad luck takes over, and this is a representation of his bad luck, if you will? I don't know. I'm just throwing out stuff against, like, spaghetti theory, just throwing against the wall, seeing if it sticks at this point in time, and just kind of trying to carry and push the storyline a little bit forward. But I'm really fascinated, man. The fact that I have questions and I feel like I'm very invested in this season, I really enjoy the trajectory in which it's going. So the Sonoza stuff was great. The Sonoi stuff was great as well, really leading to questions about further villains that the Don Momotaros have to step up against in here. Getting the opportunity to see the one bad day for Don Momotaro as well, how hilarious it certainly was, but also the great action and the great sort of connection between teammates that this actually wind up causing at the end of the day, and really learning a little bit more about how everything works, and really more insightful and really creative ways to go ahead and create Hitatsukis for us for this season. So yeah, man, I was impressed. I mean, even the Robotaro stuff, like that alone did it for me, to the point to where they didn't even have to do the whole Zord thing in this episode also. So I'm assuming maybe the next couple episodes everybody else will get their power-ups before they actually combine. Who knows, maybe they combine in the next week's episode. I don't know, I didn't check out the preview, but all I know is I'll be here for it, guys. But listen, at the end of the day, these are just simply my A+ opinions. I always want to know yours. If there's anything that I missed, character moments, character details, storyline moments that maybe I missed or that you want to further explore, let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below, and we'll definitely go ahead and continue this conversation throughout the remainder of the week. But other than that, guys, that's going to go ahead and do it for us here. In the meantime, as always, do me a big favor. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.